In the humid lowland forests of West Africa, a tree grows to a height of some 60 feet, its leaves broad and glossy, its trunk unremarkable among the canopy. It produces a knobbed, woody pod, and inside that pod sit a handful of seeds the size of chestnuts, pale pink to deep crimson. These are kola nuts. They are bitter. They are mildly stimulating. And for more than 1,000 years, they have been among the most valuable agricultural products moved across the African continent. Two species matter most. Kola ida, native to the forests stretching from Sierra Leone to Ghana, and Kola acuminata, found further east toward Nigeria and Cameroon. Both belong to the same botanical family as cacao, and like cacao, both were domesticated by farmers whose names were never recorded. The tree is slow. Planted from seed, it may take 7 to 12 years before it bears its first meaningful crop. But once established, a kola tree can produce for a century. This patience shaped how the crop was grown. Kola was not planted in vast monocultures. It was interplanted among oil palms, plantains, and cocoa, tucked into the shade of village groves, tended as a long inheritance passed between generations. A farmer planting kola was planting for grandchildren. Harvest requires care. The pods ripen unevenly across the crown, and workers climb or use long hooked poles to cut them free without damaging the branches that will fruit again next season. The pods are split open by hand. The seeds are extracted, then soaked and washed to remove the whitish covering that clings to them. What follows is the critical stage. Fresh kola nuts spoil quickly and are vulnerable to weevils, so they are cured in baskets lined with leaves, kept moist, turned and inspected over weeks. Done well, the nuts remain viable for months. This preservation technique was what made long-distance trade possible at all. And that trade was immense. Kola moved north along the caravan routes of the Sahara, carried by camel through Timbuktu and Kano, exchanged for salt, cloth, and horses. It moved by canoe along the Niger. In the Islamic societies of the Sahel and North Africa, where alcohol was forbidden, kola offered a permitted stimulant, and its status rose accordingly. It became ceremonial. Among the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Hausa, and many others, the breaking and sharing of kola marked the arrival of a guest, the sealing of a marriage agreement, the naming of a child, the settling of a dispute. To offer kola was to offer peace. To refuse it carried weight. The nut appeared in prayer, in divination, in the founding of alliances. It was currency, medicine, and sacrament at once. Then, in the late 19th century, the nut left the continent in a new form. European and American chemists had grown interested in kola's caffeine content, and tonics containing kola extract began appearing in pharmacies as remedies for fatigue and nervous exhaustion. In 1886, a pharmacist in Atlanta named John Pemberton combined an extract of coca leaf with an extract of kola nut and named the result for both ingredients. The syrup was sold at a soda fountain as a patent medicine. Within a few decades, it was among the most widely distributed manufactured products on Earth. Demand for kola surged. Colonial administrations pushed plantations in Ghana, Nigeria, and the Ivory Coast, and shipments crossed the Atlantic in volume. But the reprieve was brief. Synthetic caffeine, cheap and consistent, could be extracted from tea waste or manufactured outright, and by the middle of the 20th century, the world's largest soft drink companies had largely stopped buying the nut that gave their category its name. Today, the word remains everywhere and the crop remains almost invisible outside its homeland. Nigeria is the leading producer, followed by Ghana, Cameroon, and the Ivory Coast, and the great majority of the harvest never leaves West Africa. It is chewed by traders and drivers and farmers for endurance through long days. It is stacked in bright heaps in the markets of Kano and Lagos, sorted by size and color, still commanding real prices in a domestic trade worth hundreds of millions. Researchers continue to examine its compounds, its caffeine and theobromine and tannins. Growers face aging trees, pest pressure, and the slow arithmetic of a crop that will not reward the impatient. There is something instructive in the arrangement. 1 billion people drink a beverage named for a seed they have never seen, harvested from a tree they could not identify, in forests they will never visit. The name survived the ingredient. The ingredient survived without the name.